Twice you've gone back in the gate, and twice you've come out with nothing.
We are now on the threshold of what must be one of the most serious industrial relations conflicts in this country.
Surely you've reached the point now where if you don't trust the Arbitration Commission, you have nowhere left to go.
I saw the mockery and the dirty tricks that can be played on us.
The other decision puts you as the vehicle for the biggest political showdown this country's ever had. And you're going to have all your plans fixed. Where you're going to have your bargaining power then? You're going to have nothing. Because we've got them now. We've got them beat now.
We don't want this fight, but we are elected to protect the rights of the people of this state against any group which sets out to destroy our way of life. And we will do so.
My name's Max Strong. I'm a rigger. I want to tell you the story of the Latrobe Valley Power Workers strike of 1977. It sounds like a special strike, and perhaps it was. But more likely it's the story of a strike you've already been involved in yourself, or could be involved in. We were striking over low wages. Trades assistants were getting $109 to $116 a week, which was below the poverty line at that time. Also, a lot of our tradesmen were getting paid at the same level as unskilled workers. We drew up a log of claims which included a $25 a week pay rise.
Well, this is where the picket line was set up across here. The picketers were outside of this barrier, and the police were over here with the big light, and the trucks were coming along this road and around through this gate here.
What were the trucks hauling?
They're hauling coal to a briquette factory which was producing briquettes which were being taken across to the power station and used as fuel. And the drivers shouldn't be doing this work because it is another union's work. So we came down here to try and stop them from driving the trucks.
Where's your fucking conscience?
Ah, well, this is the this must be the thing that they that was used to puncture the tyres. The word that I'd heard used for it was a crow's foot. That no matter how it's thrown down, it will always have a spike standing up. It was used by the Yugoslavian partisans. For instance, I'll show you. Well, this caper presumably put out about 9 trucks on the line.
We are now confronted with a major power crisis in Victoria. Let me state plainly and simply the severity of the situation. Because of the strike, power generation equipment is in urgent need of maintenance. The SEC has had to cut back its supply of electricity to all Victoria. Unless urgent work is carried out soon, further restrictions must be imposed, and there's the real danger of a complete breakdown. This can't be allowed to happen. The government has now proclaimed a state of emergency.
Are you worried now that the state government has adopted such a hard line? Would you be prepared to confront police or troops?
If I have to, I will. Where we've made our stand, we've made our bed, we'll lie in it.
What about these latest emergency regulations which the government has brought in? Would you stand by your husband if he had to confront police or troops or outsiders being brought in?
Yes, well, you know, you've got to stick by your family, you know, no matter what they think.
Even if it's to the stage of a physical confrontation with authorities?
Yes, I think so. Now that it's gone on this long, really.
Even if the government had used the army, or any other scab labour for that matter, the rest of the SEC workers would have gone on strike in support of us. This would have totally blacked out Victoria.
If the men that are on strike set up picket lines, or if the SEC brings in scab labour, we remain outside the gate. We will not cross picket lines, and we will not work if there is scab labour in the area.
They couldn't break the strike, and they couldn't starve us out either. The shop stewards organised a massive emergency relief operation. It was paid for by workers all over Australia who poured money into the valley.
A little bit over $24,000 was sent from the bridge to the Latrobe Valley.
That's a magnificent effort. Why do you think the blokes voted to put on such a large levy?
Well, we could have been in the same position someday ourselves, and we may one day look for support of the chaps at the Latrobe Valley.
I think they had all the Victorian workers, regardless whether they were in or out of work, put off by the strike. I think they were all behind us. All the power stations in Australia and everybody was behind these men because they knew they were fighting for something. They knew if they went down, it was defeating their chances of ever getting up. You know, I really think Victoria was behind them, and that's why all these donations come in from everywhere. I really do.
I think the backing was tremendous. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like the donations that were given to this strike fund. It made it a lot easier to stay on strike because we were supplied with food.
We weren't getting our bills paid or anything, but we were eating, and that's the main thing.
Good evening tonight from the Latrobe Valley. If there's anywhere in Australia where they really can turn on the lights, or perhaps I should say turn off the lights tonight, it's here in Morwell, and that's why we're here in the Morwell Town Hall. We're coming to you live with workers from the Latrobe Valley, many of whom have been on strike for more than 10 weeks in this power dispute, a dispute that's brought Victoria to the edge of blackout, it's brought industry to a standstill, it's put hundreds of thousands of other people out of work, and it's undoubtedly firmed the chances of an early federal election. Today, the Salvation Army tells us that it's caused welfare problems that are worse than the Darwin cyclone. I heard the gentleman in the white.
I'd like to point out to the people of Victoria this very important point.
No, but listen, I don't want a prepared speech. I want to know why you won't go back to work.
Well,
I heard derisory comments when it was said that Mr. Hawke wouldn't appear in the program because negotiations were too delicate. Why is that? Are you now isolated from your union
No,
leaders?
we're not. The striking workers in the Latrobe Valley, the overwhelming majority of the striking workers in the Latrobe Valley, believe that we have a just and fair case.
But look, if you have a just case, why not go to the Arbitration Commission and let it be heard?
We have already been...
How can you expect the people of Victoria to believe that you have a just case when you're not prepared to put it to the courts to be arbitrated?
We have already...
The lady in the... Sorry.
The arbitration court, quite frankly, because we don't trust the arbitration court any longer. We've been fooled twice already.
Mr. Councilman, my name is Herman Ramselaar. I am an AMWSU shop steward, not employed within the SEC. I work in private enterprise, same as the previous speaker. I am all in favour of this strike. I have seen pay slips from the SEC workers. I have compared it with mine. If I left my employment today and started with the SEC tomorrow, I would drop $69.
Why not submit your dispute to the trade union movement as a whole to arbitrate? The trade union movement will consider the welfare of all workers, not just the selfish interest of 2,500 people in the Latrobe Valley. Surely the interest of all workers have to be considered.
Can you tell me about it?
Please, can we hear?
Can you tell me the justification about the politician getting $60, no arbitration or nothing, and you're here, you're screaming at us. I don't want my brothers down Melbourne to be out of job. None whatsoever. I got scars on my bloody body from the SEC. But
Well,
nobody worries about that.
Melbourne to be out of a
Nobody
job, why
worries
don't
about
you...
what I got in my chest.
Well,
God
why
knows
don't
what's going
you-
to happen to the future.
Well, if you don't want your brothers in Melbourne to be out of a job, why don't you go back to work and let your
Because
case be argued?
because I built a home here. Because I built a home here and my kids are growing here. That's why.
We have one final comment because we're now out of time.
Couchman. Mr. Couchman, with due respect, I wasn't given a fair go at the beginning of this show. And I would like to point out to you this, that you're inferring that 2,300 people are holding the country to ransom. Well, I put it to you that it's not the 2,300 people that are holding the country to ransom. There is more than one party in a dispute. There's more than one party in a dispute, and I put it to you that the state government, in collusion with the SEC and the federal government, are holding the people to ransom, not the workers of the Latrobe Valley.
The SEC insisted on us taking our claims to the arbitration court for a ruling. We were getting out of our depth in legalities. So the left-winger John Halfpenny came down from Melbourne to give us a hand. He's the state secretary of the second biggest union in Australia.
I don't expect any workers, shop stewards or anybody else to look up to me. All I hope to do as a trade union official is to inject whatever talents I might have as a result of more day-to-day experience in various disputes to assist them.
Frank Sinatra used to say, we tried it their way, we did it the way that we've been told. When we agreed to go this way, we did it because we were assured that there was something there because of the justice and the merit of the argument in support of the claim. Having tried it their way, we now have to determine whether we want to go on and do them our way.
As the strike dragged on, so did the talks in the arbitration court. With Halfpenny leading negotiations in Melbourne, we seemed to be getting somewhere with our case. But we paid the price.
The courts kept us involved down there all the time. We were travelling from here, which is 90 miles to Melbourne, and there'd be a meeting down in Melbourne. We'd be down there from, we'd leave here at 6 o'clock in the morning, we'd go into the court at 10 o'clock, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock, we'd rush back to a shop stewards meeting in the Latrobe Valley. Next morning, it'd be back to the court again. Now, all of our leaders were in the courts most of the time, and back in the valley here, we slowly got divorced from the people. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks until the shop stewards, in my belief, got very tired travelling down there, mentally tired.
Us shop stewards get together, 60 of us, and we nut it all out, and you know, it's a democratic type of thing, and you know, whatever recommendation we come up and put to the meeting is through our hearts, and if the meeting accepts it, we're happy.
Bearing in mind, you know, that some of these shop stewards have never had any great amount of experience. They're only men who've been elected to represent men in sort of day-to-day industrial problems. They've never had to face up to the obvious, very deep political situation that we were in.
John Halfpenny was coming under intense pressure from the highest trade union levels to get us back to work. I feel Halfpenny must have started worrying about his career. But no matter what the reason, one thing's for sure, he tried to talk us back to work. He used the excuse that the government's tactics were too strong for us.
And it was quite clear, particularly to those who were directly involved, that for their own selfish political objectives, both the state and the federal governments were prepared to virtually wreck the state and most of the people in it in order to achieve their own purpose.
A lot of shop stewards disagreed with Halfpenny. We could see that the SEC was about to cave in. Soon the power stations would completely break down and Victoria would grind to a halt. We knew we could win.
I personally opposed the proposition to go back to work because I'd managed to keep contact with my men and was sort of running a mini gallop poll across what I knew to be a fair cross-section of the people I represent. And I still read it, that the men were still prepared to go on and would have gone on had the option been there for them to do so.
But Halfpenny convinced a majority of the shop stewards that they should accept an arbitration court offer to do a work value study.
As John Halfpenny said, it's a good man who knows his strength and also knows his weaknesses. And if you forget about your weaknesses and only think of your strengths, that's where you fail.
There weren't very many occasions, if any, where my view was contrary to what the stewards finally determined or resolved by way of a recommendation to a mass meeting. But that didn't arise because they just accepted meekly and mildly and without question what I might have said or what other trade union officials might have said.
And again, quoting John Halfpenny, that there is no strike in Australian history that has completely come out with a complete victory. And the day that we get a complete victory in the trade union movement, that is the day that Australian workers will be free.
The shop stewards drew up a recommendation to end the strike.
We now recommend a resumption of work as from afternoon shift today to allow the inquiry to proceed post-haste. I now propose to put that, and I'd ask only those people that are on strike to vote. Now, all those in favour of that recommendation. Those against? And that carries most overwhelmingly.
That's the way the strike ended. A strike that had lasted almost 3 months.
Rather significant that today, having returned to work,
It's the day after the meeting.
the day after the meeting, most of the men are saying that they felt it was a wrong decision.
Our leadership took the advice of Bob Hawke and John Halfpenny and listened to what they said, and they kept saying, go back to work, men, listen to the arbitration court, men, do this, men, and we did that. We did that twice. We listened to the arbitration court and we listened to all the big knobs, and we kept on listening to John Halfpenny and Bob Hawke, and unfortunately we did that right till the end, and that's where we failed. Because we spent so much time with him, after a while we heard him say something so often that we started to believe it. We believed it ourselves. Our leadership believed it, and that's what went wrong, We should have got the judges and the Bob Hawkes and all those blokes down in Latrobe Valley to listen to our side of the story, because we were the blokes doing the dough. We should have been dictating the terms, and all the way along, they were dictating the terms. The SEC never once, backed down from their stand. They said right from the start, we're going to give you, nothing, and towards the end, they said we're going to give you nothing. And we went back to work with nothing, all the way along.